What's up, y'all? Niners Fanatic Podcast. This is Peter Lucas. We're coming off of a great 49er victory. And when I say great 49er victory, this is a game that we should have won. But the 49ers win 23-7. They beat the Houston Texans. And I really could not be happier about this victory just because we got to see our boy Trey get his second start. And it was some up and downs, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, he did very well, especially second half. He was solid. I think that him and Kyle, it's really going to take them some time to get a flow, to get for Kyle to understand what to call and when for Trey, because it's learning. I mean, him and Trey and Jimmy couldn't be more different QBs, especially watching this game today. So it's going to take them some time to mesh for Kyle to understand his complete skill set and what it looks like against actual professional talent. So let's just give him some time to figure it out. But let's be happy about this victory today, because even though the Saints won today and we couldn't clinch our playoff spot, we still have a chance to make the playoffs. We got the Rams next week, but we want to celebrate this win today, because yeah, like I said, Lance had an up and down game, but he showed growth throughout this game. It seemed like I won't say every drive he got better, but I felt like him and Kyle got better as the game went on, like I was talking about a minute ago, and we saw Elijah Mitchell return in this game. He had a very good game, and I want to say he had a great game. Coming off of the hiatus that he came off of, he had a really good game today, and he showed out because the Texans they have a bad run defense, and so Kyle took advantage of what their weakness was. So it was good to see that. Ayuk balled out. I was really interested, and we'll get into it when we start talking about the offense, but I was really interested to see if he was going to be the beneficiary of Lance being out there. And I think to a point he was. So, but we'll get into that later. The Debo was Debo. They used Debo like they've been using him most of the year. So he didn't show out as he normally would. He still got a touchdown, but for the most part, he didn't really he did his thing. So, and then of course the defense stepped up and they held the rookie down. It was really good to see them really just kind of like keep the Texans at bay. Not that the Texans are, let's just get this out of the way. Texans are a bad team. They are a bad team. They played like a bad team. In my past video, I said they weren't as bad as the record might suggest, which I still don't think that they're as bad as the record suggests, but they're a bad team. They have a lot of holes on that roster, and I don't want to pretend like this is the Niners were some world beater, but this could not have been a better landing spot for Lance than this game. And it gave Lance a chance to make some mistakes early and to build off of them and to pivot and to correct some of those mistakes. And he's, like I said, he made some mistakes, but I mean, he was able to live to fight another day, because the defense, for the most part, they dominated throughout this whole game, and they held them to 7 points. So, I mean, we saw the PI rear its ugly head again, but I mean, it seems like with our corner situation, that's never going to go away. So, but I wanted to start off talking about the Texans and what they did, so we can get that out the way. The defense, their defense actually held Trey Lance at bay in the beginning of the game. Like first half, Trey couldn't really do much. I felt like he looked confused. He looked like a rookie. And even though this was his second start, it really looked like, I mean, there were so many weeks between his first and his second start. He looked almost like it was his first start. So the defense kind of confused Trey in the beginning, and he made some bad throws. He missed some guys. He missed reads on some guys, but he didn't make the huge mistake, like the one that you would just be upset about that Jimmy would make. He made a mistake, but it was at least trying to throw the ball downfield when he got his interception. That makes any sense. Um, so yeah, their defense held Trey at bay in the first half, but in the second half, their defense, Trey started cooking, and you got to really see what that defense really was, and their run defense was terrible. Elijah Mitchell, coming off an injury, just diced them up. He broke off some big runs, and yeah, and Trey just kind of built off of that. And I feel like Elijah Mitchell was able to run the ball more and it opened up those holes for him because Trey was able to throw the ball downfield and loosen up that defense. But the Texans offense came down to earth after their explosion last week. Well, you can forget about that this week. The defense, 49er defense, like I said before, held Trey down, and they did an outstanding job, in my estimation, of keeping, for the most part, of keeping this offense at bay. Davis Mills threw 21 of 32, 163 yards. So they held him to 163 yards. He had one touchdown, an interception, and one fumble that they recovered. So it didn't hurt them too bad. But the fact is, they got a fumble. Yeah, he looked like a rookie. He looked like a rookie in this game. And that's what's going to happen with rookies. But I didn't think he looked terrible. I just think he looked like he was playing a better team. And not to say that San Diego isn't a good team. I think that San Diego is actually they have a really good offense, but I think when you're missing the players that they were missing on defense, it made him look a little better than what he was or where he is at this moment developmentally. So, but 49ers let him know right away that he was going to be running for his life throughout this game, and D-line just kind of dominated their offensive line for the most part. Rex Burkhead exploded last week for 153. Yeah, he got 16 carries for 47 yards. He did have 6 receptions for 32 yards, but no touchdowns, and he had a fumble that they recovered. Or no. I think we recovered that one. But yeah, he had a fumble. So Rex Burkhead got brought back down to earth. And yeah, he obviously was not the world beater that he was last week. And but they did have Brandon Cooks. And let's just talk about Brandon Cooks for a minute. Somebody's got to stop the disrespect for this man, because I don't feel like anybody ever talks about Brandon Cooks as a top receiver, but the fact that they could put him really anywhere on the field and he was beating anybody that was in front of him. Not that the 49ers have great corners, but the fact that you could just throw him, and he's been doing this all year. He might have had 1,000 yards already this season, but he's definitely going to have 1,000 yards for the season. I mean, the guy's just a walk-in 1,000-yard season. So I don't understand why this guy isn't mentioned more in the top half. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver in my estimation. But the guy is just electric, and you can't really. He's got so much wiggle and speed, and the guy he's just good. He's just good. And but yeah, it didn't matter who was in front of him on the 49ers. He burnt them, and they had to give up he caused a couple of DPIs. So but Cooks was he was much better. He had 7 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown, which sounds kind of pedestrian. I mean, he didn't have a touchdown, but he looked way better than his stat line. And I think that anybody that watched that game would know what I'm talking about. He looked way better than his stat line, because nobody on the 49ers could really stop him. You know who? One person that I was really impressed with on the Texans was Desmond King, their corner, one of their corners. I think he struggled. I believe he was on the Packers previously, and he struggled with them. And it's not that he's good, but I was impressed with his toughness. I remember one play in particular where Debo tried to stiff arm him and ended up embarrassing himself. Like it was a pretty bad attempt at a stiff arm. Desmond just kind of shrugged it off and then talked in Debo's face. Um, I mean, it didn't really matter because we ended up bouncing the Texans, but it was I was kind of impressed by his toughness, like throughout the game, and that was the one play that really kind of stood out to me. But I saw a couple of times he was in on tackles, and yeah, I thought he played well. So, but let's get to what everybody wants to talk. I know everybody wants to talk about, which is TreyArea. Trey Lance, 16 to 23, 249, 2 touchdowns and an interception. You could see the growth as the game went on. He had a great second half. He missed some throws in the first half, but he's a rookie. I don't know what anybody would expect from him. He's a rookie. So the plays that he made, and the throws that he did complete were electric. That man has a cannon. And sometimes it's almost just like, oh my God, just slow it down. Like, don't throw the ball so hard. Like you're gonna hurt somebody. I thought he was gonna take the hands off of one of the DBs, how hard he threw it to the sideline. The guy, it should have been picked, but I just don't think the guy could possibly catch that heat-seeking missile that he was throwing. So it looked really good. After watching Jimmy float balls around, and I don't want to disparage Jimmy. I don't need to disparage Jimmy to praise Trey, but it's after watching Jimmy for the last 5 years and with limited throwing ability and bad decision making, Trey has some room to grow with the decision making, but the talent is just undeniable. I mean, it just pops off the screen, and yeah, I thought it was really good. And this was like I said earlier, this was the perfect platform for him to come out and show what he was capable of. So, and he did that. I felt he did that. But that I will tell you one thing that I did not like, and I was happy that Kyle really got away from it, which was the design runs early. Like the design runs early. I mean, he did 2 in a row at one point, and it just looked terrible. It looked clunky. It looked like Trey. It looked like Trey wasn't fast enough to take advantage of those design runs. And I think that's the reason why I really think that that's the reason why Kyle stopped doing it, was because it kind of took away. He didn't look fast enough to take advantage of those holes that were open up. And sometimes the defense they were looking for it. You could see it. They were looking for it. They were cheating guys down, and it was just, they were waiting for it all game. Even the screens that he tried to throw, the defense was cheating down. So that's what it hurt Debo in the running game, which we'll get to in a minute. And I think that seeing him throw the ball down the field, it might open up those QB runs later on down the road, but he's definitely not Lamar Jackson. He's not going to run a 4.3, and he's a bigger guy that can run and has a cannon for an arm. I think that they need to, what I said in the last video, they need to take advantage of his cannon of an arm and work on his reads, work on his mechanics. But what I was really pleasantly surprised by with Trey was that he didn't float those high balls. I don't really remember seeing any high balls, and that was what we were all looking for from him. So it was a really good showing. But I'm excited. I was excited by it. I know, looking at Twitter and everything, that a lot of people were excited by it. And you had some haters out there that really still want to see Jimmy in there. They think he gives us a better option for the play, like to get into the playoffs and beyond. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think I'm still under the mind that Trey should have been starting a long time ago. Because if he had had even a few games in a row, I think we would be seeing a completely different quarterback at this point. And I don't think that because all the kid needs, and you saw it throughout this game, all the kid needed was some time on the field and to see those defenses, to see how fast they move, to see how much time he has to fit those balls in the spot. Now, Trey was late on some throws, a few throws, but and his velocity can get him by for right now. But there's going to come a time when he's going to have to make that read, throw the ball on time, be confident in his read, and just anticipate the throw. That is something that he is going to have to work on. But I think that that's something that he's going to grow into. I think that another thing that I was really pleasantly surprised at is that he was constantly looking downfield. He didn't want to run. He was constantly looking downfield, constantly looking for guys to get open. And to the receivers' credit, they kept working to get open, which I think is a huge difference from when Jimmy is in there, because Jimmy can't get far. He can't buy time with his legs for those guys to even get open. So, but yeah, we had a Trent Sherfield sighting today. That was on offense. He had an early grab, and Juwan Jennings had, I think he had a couple of catches. So I mean, I felt like the offense was excited by Trey, and it really was good to see. They needed some electricity in this offense, and I really felt like you could see the potential of this offense because the 49ers have so many playmakers. Kittle only got one catch that really shouldn't have been a catch. Let's just be honest. If they had thrown the red flag on it and challenged it, it wouldn't have been a catch. Kittle probably should have been catchless in this game. But to speak on that, the fact that we didn't even see really much of Kittle in this game tells you all you needed to tell about how electric the rest of the receivers on this team really were. And the potential for this offense is huge. And I was really, as you can see, I was really excited about it. So Elijah Mitchell looked great coming off of his hiatus. He had 21 carries, 119 yards, 2 receptions, 11 yards, and he had one of Trey's touchdowns. Elijah looked really good, especially especially after Trey got a few throws out there and the defense stopped cheating up as much. He got a few open holes and he really got a chance to get loose. So I thought that there was a couple of times where I felt he should have ran away from the defense, and I don't know if that's part of his knee issue at all, but yeah, I thought that he was explosive, but I felt like he didn't have the runaway speed. And I don't know if he was afraid to hit that last gear or what the case was, but yeah, he still looked good, 119 yards. And granted, this is the Texans, like they have a terrible run defense. So he should have looked good, but the fact that he was coming off of that long break, and for him to just hit it in stride was really, especially with Debo not really gashing in this game. So, but Elijah Mitchell looked great. Brandon Ayuk looked like what we all thought he was capable of. And granted, he only had 4 catches. Trey only threw the ball 23 times. But Ayuk made some terrific catches. And he was explosive. I didn't feel like there was anybody on the Texans that could really guard him. I'm interested to watch the tape later in the week, but I don't think that there was anybody that could really guard Ayuk at all. So yeah, he looked like a monster, and I think more to come on that. I think him and Trey had a really good rapport. But Debo was used like he has been. He was getting I think he had 7 runs, But he only had, he had 7 carries, but he only had 19 yards, and he had 3 receptions for 63 yards, and he had Trey's other touchdown. I felt like and Trey had had a beautiful long pass to him for the touchdown. It was, and when he caught it, I said, "Oh, this guy ain't going to tackle him." He was going in. So it's, you guys, my wife, I was jumping up and down when he caught the ball, and because I knew he was going in for the touchdown. But it was, you got a chance to see the explosiveness of Debo as a receiver, and that's really what we kind of want to see more often from Debo. And now he did have a brutal drop. Trey hit him in the hands across the middle, and it was a beautiful throw in my estimation. And it was, it was a brutal drop. But I think these receivers are growing with Trey as he gets more reps and they get used to his throws, and as Trey learns to dial down the fastball and get some touch on his throws, I think sky's the limit. But yeah, Debo dropped that dime from Lance. It was brutal. But I feel like it took, keep talking about the offense, it took Kyle a minute to figure out the flow and to really treat him like a real QB. He was treating him like he didn't trust him to throw the ball in the beginning. And that's the way it looked. At least I don't know if that's what the case was, or if that was the plan, was to make the defense think that that's what he was going to do, and then he'd hit him with long throws. I don't know if Kyle thought that much into it. I really feel like he thought that he could get away with just with the designed runs, and because the Texans' run defense was so terrible that he could just get away with just running the ball, and he would only have to let Trey pass the ball a couple of times. And I think he was forced to let Trey throw the ball. Well, he let him throw the ball finally, and Trey started rewarding that trust. And I think that's going to build on their relationship, and it's going to be really interesting to see the dynamic going forward into this next game, because this potentially could be the last game of the season for the 49ers, potentially. But it'll be very interesting to see how that dynamic goes into this last game of the season. I really, if Jimmy starts next week, we riot. I don't want to see that. I'm not a Jimmy hater, but after seeing, once you could see the confidence in Trey build, I don't see a point in taking that away from him. I feel like you need to just go ahead, tear the Band-Aid off, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, okay, you got something to build on for next season. That's the way I'm looking at it. I know that we all want to make the playoffs. We don't have a first round pick, so you might as well go balls to the wall. I get all that, but Trey's development is more important than a middling playoff run. I don't think that in my opinion, I don't feel the 49ers are ready to go to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. That's my personal opinion. You may not agree. That's fine, but it's my opinion. I'll be honest with you, I don't feel that we're ready to go to a Super Bowl with Trey Lance this season. I don't feel like this team is a Super Bowl bound team. However, could I be proven wrong? Would I love to be proven wrong? Absolutely. And after watching this game yesterday I think we just need to temper expectations, because we played a terrible opponent today, and we need to focus on this next game against the Rams. But yeah, offensively, I feel like Kyle and Trey need to build their chemistry together. So, but if Jimmy starts next week, we revolt. I don't want to see it. I'm going to be upset. I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to be upset. So, but getting to the 49er defense. So, I mean, they were missing Azeez and Greenlaw and Afanga, Hurst, and it just it didn't matter. Didn't matter. They held them to 7 points. Didn't matter. which is great for the 49er defense because those guys got another week to rest going into this next game. Hopefully we will see a few of these guys play in this next game, and that the defense can be at somewhat full strength. I mean, we're never going to be at full strength at corner, but there's a chance we might get Mosley back next game. I think he's probably going to end up coming out next week. I think so, because like I said, it's probably going to go balls to the wall to try and make the playoffs. But the defense dominated, except for whoever was guarding Brandon Cooks. He just destroyed whoever was in front of him. So, but the D-line had 3 sacks. Seemed like everybody but Bosa got one. So, which is a good thing. It's a really good thing when you think about it, because Bosa is our best. He might be our best defensive player overall. Like, I mean, Warner. Yeah, you could say that, but the most important to our defense, I feel like Bosa, and the pressure that he gives, obviously the attention that he commands, that he's commanding a double team and chips off the line, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was good to see that the other guys stay involved. Like the last 4 or 5 games, they've just been, the D-line has just balled out. Ebukam was a monster again. Yeah, it was really good to see. Ambry Thomas. Let's get into Ambry Thomas. That kid is growing confidence every week. You can see the growth, and it is great it is outstanding to see that he is not being, that he was not just folding because of the failures early in the season and now, and early on in the last 4 or 5 games, that he didn't fold. He kept going, and you could see the confidence building from game to game. But in this game, he was in his bag. He was in his bag. He should have had a pick. Like, but I'm almost confident in saying next week he's gonna have a pick. That kid, his confidence is growing. I feel like he's one of those players that needs to be confident going in to play well. But I feel like he's getting physical with guys now, and I can't wait to see the tape. But he's just winning matchup after matchup, and I felt like, yeah, he was solid. I mean, now Brandon Cooks, I think he got him for a couple of catches, but I mean, they moved Brandon Cooks away from him in that game. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I felt like they moved him away from Ambry Thomas, because Ambry Thomas was doing the thing. So, but Norman got replaced in this game by Dante Johnson. So more to come on that. Like, let's see if they finally are confident enough to put Dante Johnson in. I don't think we should see Norman anymore. That's my opinion. I think we're done with his show. He hasn't gotten any fumbles, punch out fumbles in weeks now. So there's no real reason to have him out there, in my opinion, especially if Mosley comes back. It should be Ambry Thomas and Mosley, in my opinion. That's what we should see. I'm very confident in Ambry Thomas at this point. Now, if a Mosley comes back, you know that Ambry Thomas is going to get a bulk of the targets. But I think that he has proven that he's not afraid of the moment now. I don't think he's afraid of the moment now. And I think that he's going to come in fighting. So, yeah, I was really impressed with Ambry Thomas. And I was really happy to see them just yank Norman. Norman's he's just bad, guys. He's just bad. There's no other word for him. But the pass interference calls are back. Dante Johnson got called for one. Norman got called for one. And the Dante Johnson one really was kind of ticky-tack, in my opinion. Even the Norman one, I thought was a little ticky-tack. The only reason why they called him for it was because he turned into the receiver instead of around, if that makes any sense. But we all know at this point, this is the NFL, and this is what they're doing now. They want to make sure that that corners just don't touch anybody, and they want to see those big plays. So they're just going to manufacture them by calling people for a defensive PI, and the receivers are allowed to do whatever they want to do. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But Warner, we spoke on Warner earlier, and he had 15 tackles. He had 1 tackle for loss, but he was all over the place, and he was very aggressive early on. They were very physical up front, and you love to see it. You love to see the physicalness. That's 49er. I feel like that's 49er football. You have to set a tone, especially our defense. They set a tone, and I feel like that's what they started that with Salah, but this year I feel like they're really setting a tone that they are not here to be pushed around, and that they're here to push you around. And it was just really good. It was really good. Warner looked really good out there. Marcel Harris looked good. He in the place of Aziz or Greenlaw or whoever you want to put him in that spot. But it seems like the 49ers just know how to coach up linebackers. That's really what it comes down to, because it doesn't really matter who they plug into that spot. They for the most part play well, and they held the run game down. They didn't do nothing on the ground. So it was really good defensive performance. D'Amico Ryans had these guys ready to play against an inferior opponent, and I feel like that is an underrated trait. When you have an inferior opponent, you need to step on their neck and make them understand that they are inferior. And I feel like that's what they tried to do early. And I think that kind of led, for the most part throughout this game, that really was the tone that they set. So it was great performance, great game plan by D'Amico. Again, that guy, we just get more and more faith in him every week. And I can't wait to see the game plan for next week. I really can't. I really can't wait to see how he schemes it up to stop Cooper Kupp and now Odell Beckham, because Odell Beckham I think he had a pretty decent game today too. So, but yeah, the final, I predicted that the final score would be 30-14. I guess I gave the Texans too much credit, because the score ended up being 23-7. But overall, let's just be real. It was a solid win. Good rebound by Lance from first half to second half. Like I said earlier, if Kyle starts Jimmy, he's getting side eye from me and a lot of people, I believe, at this point. The genie's out of the bottle, and we can't unsee it. It's not. We saw the electricity come out of this kid's arm, and now we can't unsee that. We can't go back. We can't go back. You can't go back. I don't believe you can go back. There's too much talent there, and now it's really up to Kyle to harness it, figure out a game flow for it, and just use it. So, but 49ers dominated as they should have. It looked like a game that they should have won, and they did. But we got the Rams next week. What Rams team shows up? Is it the Rams team that looks really good at times, and they kind of just dominate their opponents? Like it's weird how the Rams win, because they do have a lot of talent on their team, but it's like fragmented pieces, and they're not really a cohesive unit. They do it differently on any given week, and you don't really know which Stafford is going to show up. Their defense struggles against the 49er running game. For the most, I would say in the McVay area, historically in the McVay era, they struggle against the 49er run game, so that ought to be interesting to see. It really ought to be interesting to see how Trey reacts to going up a premier corner in Jalen Ramsey, and how that affects his reads. And I'm really interested to see how that goes. I really just want to see Trey start. I really want to see Trey start. And but the Rams need this win for seeding purposes, and because they need to win and they need the Cardinals to lose, and then the 49ers need to win to make the playoffs. So both teams need this, which means it should be a very good game. And that's really what we want to see at the end of the season. A lot of times at the end of the season, we have these games that don't really mean anything, and they're and people are and teams are resting guys. We ain't gonna have that in this game. Not just for seeding purposes. I believe that even if it wasn't for seeding purpose, I believe the Rams would play all their starters because they don't want to see the 49ers get into the playoffs. Not with the 49ers history against them. They do not want to see the 49ers in the playoffs. So they're going to go all out to try and beat the 49ers. The 49ers got to match that energy. But can the 49ers get some turnovers next week? I want to see some turnovers. Like we had an interception today. Like I think we have a fumble recovery today. But I want that to continue. I want that energy to continue. Like we need that energy. I want to see Jimmy Ward get some picks. I know that he's not a pick monster, but I want to see him get. I want to see Amber Thomas get one. And I just think that if the 49ers can get some turnovers, they're going to need some turnovers to win this game next week. And I feel like their defense. It's gonna be. I think Donald has something to prove. It sounds really weird, but I think Aaron Donald has something to prove against this offense that he just somehow can't crack. And he definitely has something to prove against Daniel Brunskill, which it just sounds really weird. But I mean, he has something to prove. Daniel Brunskill just tends to just dominate Aaron Donald. We don't know why. I shouldn't speak that into existence so that we won't have that karma. But like it's going to be really interesting to see that dynamic. And but yeah, it's going to be a big game. It's going to be a big game. Obviously, it's going to be the biggest game of the year. You win or go home. You win or go home. And honestly, I don't know all of the. I'm going to find out this week about all the different scenarios and all that, how the 49ers can get in. But in my mind, it's win or go home. The 49ers they have to win this game and to continue and go into the playoffs. Can they get it done? Can Kyle get it done? Can this defense, can D'Amico scheme it up and keep Cooper Kupp at bay? And Beckham over the top? Can they keep him at bay without a bunch of defensive pass interferences to drag him down the field? What kind of Stafford are we going to see? But more importantly, it comes down to the 49ers. What do we see growth from Trey? I'm assuming that Trey is gonna play. And what do we see growth from Trey? What kind of growth do we see from Trey? What kind of what wrinkles does Kyle come up with in the run game to keep McVay off balance? And it's gonna be a big game. We're gonna get into it on the pregame. More in depth in the pregame, but thank you guys so much for watching and for listening. I really, really appreciate all the feedback and I say this every video, but I appreciate all the love. And it was good. Let's celebrate this.